So today, after more than 2 weeks of break, so we will continue again with our usual Dhamma talk. So when we last spoke, we were still in the middle of a discussion on the Satipatthana Sutta. So today we are actually supposed to resume this discussion on the Satipatthana Sutta. But because this is the beginning of the Vassa, and some yogis, they are beginning their Vassa retreat. So we have a few yogis over here also in Santi Sukarama. And they are beginning their retreat here. But I think Siale has been here more than a month already. And I also know there are a few others who are, even though they are unable to come to the meditation centers to meditate due to the ongoing pandemic, but because a very strong desire to practice, so they have made some other arrangement to meditate during the Vassa in a suitable place. So they also are just beginning their retreat. So for their benefit, so I thought I'll just temporarily put on hold our Dhamma talk on the Satipatthana Sutta, and instead do what I usually do at the beginning of a retreat, that is to go through and review the basic instruction of the practice of Vipassana meditation in order to highlight and to emphasize some of the important points that are necessary for the yogis to take note of. So this will not only benefit those who are currently on retreat, so I'm very sure that it will also benefit those of you who are at home. So because I have faith in you that even though you are not on retreat, but you are still putting aside some time every day in order to do your practice. I have this faith in you. So, and as long as you are still continuing with your practice, so then this will also benefit you all. So now, of course, we will return to our Dhamma talk on Satipatthana Sutta later on, after we have completely review this basic instruction. Okay, so to begin with, Vipassana meditation. So as you all know, this is a introspective method of contemplation that were introduced by the Buddha. So the purpose of which is to investigate into the true nature of our existence. And when we talk about existence, so in the Buddha's teaching, existence means this continuous series of sense experiences, right? Continuous series of experience of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, knowing, feeling. So that's what we mean by existence. Okay? So throughout our life, throughout our existence, we are continuously experiencing, having these sense experiences. So we are continuously experiencing, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and so on. Okay, so one moment we may be seeing, and next moment we may be hearing, next moment smelling, and so on. But the sense experiences goes on continuously, moment after moment after moment. So, for example, you're sitting in the dining hall, let's say, then you hear, first you hear the chef cooking in the kitchen. So you hear, ping pong, chop, 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 you hear. So that's hearing. Next, the chef take out the food, put it in front of you. So then you see the food, right? Then next you smell the food. Then after that, craving arises in the mind. So then the intention arises also in the mind. I want to eat, right? So then what happens? Then you stretch out your hand. When you stretch out your hand, you touch the food. That's another sense experience. So first you hear, then you see, then you smell, then you have the experience in the mind door, right? Craving, the intention, then you touch. Touching is through the body door. Then you bring the food to your mouth, and then you taste. Right? So one moment after another, we have the sense experiences going on. Okay? So in this way, throughout our life, through every single moment of our life, we are experiencing one sense experience after another. Okay? And it is this series, continuous series of sense experience. That's what we call existence. Right? So long as we are continuously having these sense experiences one after another, then we say that we exist. Right? So the moment we cease to have any sense experience, then what happens? We no longer exist. We are dead. So you look at the dead corpse. The dead body don't experience anything. Don't have any sense experience. So you can go to the dead corpse and you shout into the ear. He won't hear you. You pry open the eyes. You shine a bright light into the eye. You won't see anything. So you do it to a live body, you wake up and slap you. So by a dead corpse, you shine. You shout into the ear, you won't respond. It's dead already. You put perfume near the nostril, you won't smell. You put some food into the mouth, you won't taste anything. You take a knife and you stab on his hand, he won't respond. Right? Because it's dead, no longer exists. The being that used to so-called occupy the body is no longer there, no longer exists in that body. Okay? So, So our existence basically refers to this continuous series of sense experience throughout our existence, throughout our life. And so since Vipassana meditation, its purpose is to investigate into the true nature of our existence. And so therefore Vipassana meditation it involves the act of turning our attention to contemplate this continuous series of 6 sense experiences moment after moment after moment. Okay? So to contemplate, as you should already know by now, anupassana. Okay? It means to observe carefully, to observe precisely, to observe continuously. So you continuously, you contemplate, you observe carefully, continuously, this series of sense experiences, moment after moment after moment, in order to gradually reveal the true nature of these sense experiences. Okay? So this is what we mean when we say to investigate into the true nature of our existence. So now when we say this, we investigate into the series of sense experiences. So then some people ask, so if Vipassana meditation involves the investigation into the six sense experiences, then why is it necessary for us to come for meditation retreat? Because you see, the argument is that outside of a retreat also, you also experience, we have six sense experiences, right? Outside of a retreat. You also experience seeing, you experience hearing, smelling, and so on, right? So, and when you see, when you're seeing, you also know you are seeing. When you hear, you also know you're hearing. When you smell, you also know you're smelling, right? So, and so on. So, so if all this can be done outside our retreat, why do we come for retreat? So, no, it's because you come for a retreat. Because you see, outside of a retreat, normally in your everyday life outside a retreat, even though you know you're seeing, you know you're hearing, you know you're smelling, and so on, but that knowing is usually very superficial. Unless you've undergone some training in Vipassana before, then there may be occasion where the sense experience can be very deep also. But generally, it's very superficial. Okay, so why? Because there are many things there are many mental obstruction that prevents the mind from knowing deeply, knowing clearly. So there are various mental obstruction, like desire, attachment, craving, addiction, dislike, aversion, hatred, jealousy, restlessness, stress, worry, anxiety, and so on. So many mental obstruction. So, and all this mental obstruction, they obstruct the clarity of mind, prevent the mind from seeing clearly, from seeing deeply. Okay. So when you live a very busy life outside, right? So many worldly distraction. So all this mental obstruction tends to arise. Okay? So they prevent the mind from seeing deeply, from seeing clearly. So we need to clear all this mental obstruction away before the mind can look and see clearly into the nature of these sense experiences. Okay, so that means we need to purify the mind first. Okay, so we need to reach a state of mind called citta visuddhi, purity of mind, where all this mental obstruction are temporary cleared away, put aside. So, in another words, we must develop samadhi, a state of concentration, which is that steadiness, a state of steadiness, settledness, intense focus of mind, which enable the mind to settle down, to become totally at ease with the experience in the present moment, totally focused on the present experience without being distracted in any way. Okay? So you need to develop this samadhi. Okay? So, however, as you all very well know, it's actually very difficult to develop this state of samadhi in everyday life outside of a retreat, which is so full of worldly distraction, where you are constantly running, the mind is constantly running here and there, usually after objects of the past, object of the future, very rarely being in the present moment. Okay? So it's very difficult in such an unconducive environment, worldly environment, in order to develop this state of samadhi. Okay? So to develop, you need a conducive environment, and conducive environment which is freed from all forms of distraction, worldly distraction. Okay? An environment where the yogis will be able to meditate continuously on the present moment experience without any disturbances, without being constantly distracted into the past or into the future. Okay? And so this is why we come to a retreat center in order to practice, because in a retreat center the environment is cut in order to be conducive to the development of the practice. Okay? It's set up in such a way so as to support the yogi to develop this state of sati, samadhi, and also jnana. Okay, so but of course nowadays you say pandemic Bhante cannot come to meditation center. So in that case, you really want to practice, then you have to find other means. So find some other suitable place, if it can be arranged, and then you can meditate there. So some people, they're fortunate, they can arrange at home. So or you can find some other suitable place. If you have an empty house, even better. So of course that is not always easy. Okay, but you have to make do with whatever you have in this time. Okay, so but you really want to, you can arrange, even though it's difficult. So one yogi told me, Bhante, very difficult. I've tried, so I've arranged to meditate at home. So she said, my husband is very supportive, but then, I still have to come out and eat. When I come out and eat, I still have to say hello. The moment you say hello, that's it. Distract your practice. Then she said she tried a meditation center. At that time, the meditation center, there was, I think, no retreat at that time. So she has the center all to herself. But then there's one lady there, the cook, stayed there together. Okay? And you know the cook is not a yogi. And then stay all alone there in a meditation center can be very lonely. When they're lonely, then the only other person there. So she approached and start talking. So she say, I have no choice. When she start talking to me, I become like a captive audience, cannot run away. Also, cannot meditate. But actually, if you are very firm, you can arrange. So, reason you have to say hello, you have to talk, become a captive audience because you're not firm enough. You're too polite. If you are really firm, then you say, this is my meditation time. I will not talk to them. Then you firmly stick to your practice. So, like one of my yogi now, one of my devotee, is now, he has arranged during this Vassa to meditate at home. So I asked him, you sure you can do it? What if halfway through your mother call you? So he say, oh, I've made an agreement. Kind of sign an agreement with the mother. During this time, I'll be upstairs meditating. So you stay downstairs. don't call me, don't disturb me. They made an agreement. So I asked, what about your children? My children work the whole day. They only come back at night. When they come back at night, they are downstairs. So I'm the upstairs, no problem. So he even told the mother, he says, when I come down to eat, you don't talk to me. So I'll come down and eat, I will not talk to you. After I eat, I go upstairs. So he said, don't even talk to me. Don't even ask me how is the food. So he made an arrangement. I haven't asked him whether he's successful or not. Tomorrow I will ask him. Tomorrow I will interview him through the phone. So if you really want to, it can be arranged. So that even though you cannot come to the meditation center, you can still find some way, make some arrangement. Right now in Penang Peace House, nobody's staying. Y'all can go. Y'all have the key. There's nobody there. So you can meditate all you want there. Nobody will disturb you. So, but you have to stock up on the food and cook yourself. So, yeah. So anyway, so that's why we come to a retreat center in order to practice, because it is conducive for the development of the practice, especially for the development of samadhi. So in Vipassana meditation, when we talk about samadhi, it means kanika samadhi, momentary concentration. Okay? So you need to develop this kanika samadhi. And to develop kanika samadhi, so you need a method, method to develop it. So we talk about the basic instruction, which is the basic method, how to practice Vipassana meditation, how to develop the mindfulness, how to develop the concentration, how to develop the insight. So in this case, I'm talking about the development of the practice in an intensive setting. Okay? So in a retreat, you're doing intensive Vipassana meditation retreat. Okay? So in an intensive Vipassana meditation retreat, so it consists of 3 parts. Right? So, what are the 3 parts? There's sitting meditation, there's walking meditation, and then there's meditation on all the other physical daily activities that occur in between walking and sitting meditation. So 3 parts: walking meditation, sitting meditation, and then you can say daily activity meditation. Okay? So all these 3 parts, they are meditation. Okay, not just sitting meditation. Okay, so all 3 are meditation. Okay, so that means so you need to carry them out seriously. Okay, so they are all important for the development of a practice in an intensive retreat. Okay, so some yogis, they meditate with this attitude. They think only sitting meditation is important. So they only meditate seriously during the sitting meditation. So as for walking meditation, they say take it lightly lah. So that's the attitude. So they don't take the walking meditation seriously. So they think that walking meditation is only to fill in the time in between the sitting. So they say, if I can sit the whole day, I will sit the whole day. But since I cannot sit the whole day, so I have to get out and walk. So walking is only to fill in the time in between the sitting. So that is the attitude. So when they do the walking meditation, they don't take it seriously. Okay? They don't do it seriously. When it comes to daily activities, even less serious. So they want to quickly get over with it and go back to the sitting. And then all the old habits come back. So they rush through, just like you do outside a retreat. You do everything in a rush. So in the daily activities, and eat also eat in a rush. When they do the bowing, also bow in a rush. And when they walk from one place to another, also walk quickly. Very quickly, they want to go back to their sitting. So you meditate like this in a retreat. This is wrong attitude. So your practice will not be complete in this way. So you're only practicing 1/3 of your practice in a retreat. So the other 2/3, the walking and the daily activity, you're not practicing seriously. So you're only 1/3 yogi, not full yogi. So you need to take all these 3 meditation, walking, sitting, and daily activities seriously. So you need to meditate with the same intensity in all 3 meditation. Okay? So you need to carry out your walking meditation and the meditation of your daily activities with the same intensity as you do during the sitting meditation. Okay. So the idea of these 3 parts of the retreat is so that to help the yogis in order to develop continuous mindful noting throughout the day. Okay, so that means anupassana. Okay, so you need to develop this continuous mindful noting throughout the day. Then only your noting mind can develop. Okay, so So to develop this continuous mindful noting, you need to meditate continuously throughout the day. So not just during your sitting meditation, but also during your walking and during your daily activities. Okay, so the mindful noting during the sitting meditation must carry over after you finish your sitting meditation. The mindfulness must continue, must not stop once you stop your sitting meditation. It must continue. It must carry over to your walking meditation. Okay? And then the mindfulness, the mindful noting from the walking meditation must not stop after your walking meditation. It must carry over to your daily activities. And then from there, it must carry back to the sitting meditation. In this way, it must go on continuously throughout the day. Okay, so this is anupassana. So, and as we have explained before, this anupassana, this continuity of mindful noting throughout the day, is very important in order to help the yogis to build up strength and momentum of the practice, which leads gradually to the establishing of samadhi, concentration. So as a yogi, you need to make effort in all three parts of meditation in an intensive retreat. Okay? So that you build up the momentum of your practice throughout the day. Okay? So you have to meditate continuously, from walking meditation, the sitting meditation, to your meditation in daily activities. You have to make sure the noting continue on and on and on and on. And so that moment after moment after moment of noting, you build up the strength of your noting mind, and you build up the momentum of the noting mind. Okay? Then only the mindfulness will develop, the concentration will develop. Then only the insight will arise. Okay, so first let us talk about the sitting meditation. Okay, so so for sitting meditation, so first you need to, of course, adopt a suitable sitting posture. Okay, so now traditionally, usually yogis, especially here in Asia, the traditional sitting meditation posture is to sit on the floor, cross-legged, okay, with your spine upright. Right? So upright, but relax. Okay, you have to relax. You're upright, but not too stiff. You have to be relaxed. And the shoulders drop down, not too stiff. Stiff like this, after a while, you become uncomfortable. Okay, so, and of course, you can sit on a cushion, meditation cushion, if you like. Okay, so some people don't like to sit on a cushion; they prefer the hard floor. So, up to you. Whichever you feel more comfortable with. Okay, so as long as you don't build a throne, some yogis, their sitting place really look at it like a throne, so many layers of cushion and paddings and so on. It looks like an emperor throne. So you have to adopt a posture that is comfortable. Okay, so you sit cross-legged. So there are various ways to cross the leg. So one is the most difficult, of course, is the full lotus. So very few people can do this nowadays. Those who have practiced yoga for a long time, I think they can do it very easily because their body is so flexible. So, but for most people, their body is stiff like a rock. Very difficult to adopt. But uh, you cannot do the full lotus. You can do the half lotus. You just put one leg on top of the other. Yeah, the easiest is what we call the we say easy posture. Sometimes they say the Burmese posture because most Burmese use this posture where they put just one leg in front of the other. So it's very easy. This one, because even when you do the half lotus, one leg is pressing upon the other. After a while, it can also give rise to pain, the pressure. So by you put both of them together on the floor, one in front of the other, then there's not so much point of pressure. So it's quite comfortable. Okay. So you can choose whichever you feel comfortable with. Okay. So idea is you get a comfortable posture so that you can sit continuously without moving for a long time. So in the beginning, at least 1 hour. In a retreat, that's the standard, 1 hour. So the posture must be comfortable enough so that you can sit continuously without moving. Because if you keep moving about, the mind is not at ease. The mind cannot settle down. Then you cannot develop the samadhi. Okay, so you keep shifting about, you cannot develop samadhi. So you must adopt a comfortable posture, comfortable enough. Don't have to be extremely comfortable. You do have to expect a little bit discomfort in meditation because you're sitting so long. Sure, there will be some discomfort, but as long as it does not become so intense, so the idea is to have a comfortable posture. You can sit still without having to move, so that the mind is able to settle down, become comfortable, at ease. So then only you can develop samadhi. If the mind is very uncomfortable because of the uncomfortable posture, so it cannot be at ease, then your mind cannot settle down, cannot become focused. Samadhi will not develop. Okay? In fact, in the sutta, actually, the Buddha says that the cause of samadhi is comfort. So, but you must not be attached to comfort also. So don't overdo it. Okay? So some people are so distracted with finding comfort until they become distracted from the practice. Okay? So it's just a support for your practice. So usually we sit on the floor, cross-legged. However, if you have some, say, injury on your leg or on your back, for example, and you find you cannot sit on the floor, then it's okay if you want to sit on a chair. So, because if you cannot sit due to the pain, due to the injury, then there's no comfort. Then you cannot develop. Okay, so then it's better to just sit on a chair. Okay, so some yogis sometimes they're very adamant, even when there's some injury, very difficult to sit on the floor. I ask them to sit on the chair. They still say, cannot, don't want to, not used to it. So they tahan, they sit on the floor. So actually there's no, once you sit down, you close your eyes, you meditate, it's all the same whether you sit on the floor or sit on the chair. As long as you're noting your mind is clear, it's fine. Okay. So, of course, sitting in a traditional posture is a very stable posture, very supportive. If you can, you do it. But if you cannot, sit down comfortably in that posture on the floor due to some injury, then it's better to sit on a chair. Okay, but if you sit on a chair, then don't lean back on the chair. You still keep your body upright. Okay, so lean on a chair, after a while, you become lazy. Right? So you still hold your body upright. So, so once you have adopted a comfortable posture, then in order to develop this mindfulness and concentration, so you need an object to anchor the mind on. Okay, so when you meditate, you need an object for the mind to anchor on. Okay, so without an object to anchor the mind, the undeveloped mind will flit about from one thing to another without restraint. So you jump about from one thing to another, the undeveloped mind. And this is not helpful for the development of mindfulness and concentration. Okay, so you need to anchor the mind on something when you meditate on an object. Okay, so and for a beginners, when you first begin to practice, you must not take too many objects. Okay, so the best is just take one object or two objects. So like rising and falling, or sitting and touching, or you take one or two touch points. So you should not try to take too many objects in the beginning, because when the mind is still undeveloped yet, when the mindfulness is still not developed and there's not sufficient concentration yet, the mind cannot handle too many objects. So you cannot handle, then you cannot meditate properly. Okay? So that's why in the beginning, meditation, some yogis right from the beginning, they want to meditate, and they're following this method of contemplating from the mind door. So there's this method where you meditate from the mind door. So that means you direct your attention to the mind door. Okay, and then whatever appears through the mind door, you meditate on it. So, but this is not encouraged in the beginning because there's so many objects going through the mind door all the time. So in the beginning, when your mindfulness not developed, your concentration not sufficient yet, you simply cannot handle so many objects. Okay, so so not too many objects in the beginning, and the object also must be simple and easy to discern. So in the beginning, you'll be usually the physical object connected with the body. So kaya. Okay, so because this the physical sensation in the body, they are very gross. So it's very easy for the mind to discern them. Okay, so if you take very subtle objects right from the beginning, like some yogis try to meditate on the consciousness right from the beginning. So consciousness is so subtle, and it's so subtle, and your mind is not ready for it. You cannot discern it continuously. So now and then you may be able to see here and there, but not continuously. So if you cannot discern it continuously, that means the mindfulness cannot occur continuously, and there will be many breaks in between. Okay? So the mindfulness will not be continuous. So if it's not continuous, then it cannot develop its strength. So it's constantly being interrupted. Okay, so but bodily sensation is very clear, easy to discern. Okay, so so when it's easy to discern, and the mindfulness can occur continuously. So you can go on continuously. Then there is anupassana. Then you can develop. The mindfulness can develop. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So in the beginning, you need an object to anchor the mind on. Okay, and this object is what we call the primary object, which is the main object that we use in order to develop mindfulness and concentration. Okay, so yeah, so this means that the mind has to be noting this primary object most of the time. That's why it's called primary object. It's not a secondary object, it's a primary object. That means you are noting it's most of the time with this object. You are using this object. And this primary object is the object that you use in order to develop mindfulness and concentration. So to develop it, you have to be continuously on this object. Okay? So, yeah. So I would say like 80% of the time, or even 90% of the time, the noting should be on the primary object. So some yogis, come in for interview. I ask, what is your primary object? Rising, falling. Okay, then report. When they say report, then they start to report all the secondary objects. The primary object, they either report very shortly, and then the other part of the interview, the rest of the interview, they just report all their secondary object. So that means your attention is most of the time with the secondary object. That means the rising falling is no longer your primary object. So the secondary object becomes your primary object. So that's the reason why we call it primary object, because you are supposed to stay with it most of the time. It's your home object. Sometimes we say home object. So when you have nothing to do, you always return home. You stay at home most of the time until you have something to do outside, something important to do. Not important also, you don't go out, right? So now, as for primary object, Mahasi Sayadaw recommends the rising and falling, connected with the breathing. Okay, so usually we say rising, falling of the abdomen. Okay, so so when you breathe in and breathe out, so naturally, so don't force the breathing. So when you take rising, falling as your primary object, so you must not force the breathing, you must not control the breathing in any way. The breathing has to be natural. Okay? So when you breathe naturally, when you breathe in naturally, there will be some movement somewhere in front here. Right? So traditionally we say the rising, falling of the abdomen. Okay? But for some people, they may not be able to feel it on the abdomen. So some people really, they are so thin when they breathe, the abdomen hardly move at all. But they may be able to feel it on the chest. And some may be able to feel it around the diaphragm. So wherever you feel this movement clearly, this natural movement connected with the natural breathing, wherever you feel it most clearly, you bring your attention there. That is your rising, falling. So when you breathe in, naturally, there will be some movement, some upward movement, whether in the abdomen or on the chest or on the diaphragm. So similarly, when you breathe out, there will be naturally there will be some kind of downward movement. Okay? So wherever you feel this most clearly, so you bring your attention to that. That is the rising, falling. Okay, it must be connected with your natural breathing. Okay, not something that you force, not something that you create. Okay. So Mahasi Sayadaw, he recommends this object of rising, falling. So this is chosen because rising, falling is always present. It's always present. Why? Because you're always breathing, right? So if you're always breathing, then there's always rising, falling. And actually it's easy to discern. Rising, falling is easy to discern if you are relaxed enough. So that's why when you take this as an object, you must be relaxed. You must not force or control the breathing. Okay? So it must be natural breathing. Okay, so how do you contemplate this rising, falling? So when you breathe in, it rises, right? So as soon as the rising movement occur, immediately yogi must bring the attention to the movement. Immediately the attention must be directed towards the movement and connect precisely with the movement as soon as it arises. So, and in directing the attention, connecting with the movement precisely, you must not force the mind too hard on the object. Okay, and just make effort to direct the attention to the movement and to connect with it precisely. And then just allow the mind to feel the movement and then to flow with the movement as it occurs continuously from beginning to the end. Okay, so that's all you do. You don't have to force too hard. Okay? So simply direct the attention immediately as soon as the movement occurs. Simply direct the attention immediately to the movement and connect with it precisely. Okay? Then simply allow the mind to just feel the movement, feel it and flow with it continuously from beginning right to the very end. Okay. And in doing so, the mind must be concurrent with the movement. Okay, it must synchronize with the movement. Okay, so that means so the movement occur. So as soon as it occur, the mind's together with it. Then as it continue to rise, so it rise again. The mind occur together with it. It goes further again. It occur. So continuously from beginning to the end, the mind is together with the movement, synchronized with it, connected with it. Okay, so. So that's how you note the rising movement. And in the same way also you note the falling movement. So you note the rising continuously from beginning to the end, right? Follow it precisely, connect with it precisely, flow with it continuously, and right to the very end. And then as soon as the falling movement occur again, immediately attention is there, connect with it precisely, and then you just feel it, flow with it continuously from beginning to the very end. Okay, so that's how you note the rising and falling. Okay, so that's called noting. So that means you bring your mind to the object, direct the attention to the object, connect with it precisely, and then follow it, observe it carefully, continuously. Okay, that's called noting. Now, as you are noting, you can also label what you are noting, label the experience you are noting. Okay? So, for example, when you're noting the rising movement, so as you're noting, you're following it continuously, so you can put a label on the experience of rising. You can say softly in your mind, rising, 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 rising. So when you note the falling movement, you can put the label, the mental label, not verbal label, mental label. So you say softly in your mind, they're falling, 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 falling. Okay, so this can help with the practice. Okay, so it can help to direct the mind to the object that you are, the label. By using a label, you can direct the mind more precisely onto the object that you are noting. So when the rising occur, then you say rising. The moment you say rising, the mind is like as if being directed towards the experience of rising. So the act of labeling it kind of direct the mind towards the experience that is being labeled. Okay, so it goes, the noting mind immediately goes to the experience. Okay, so labeling can be helpful to continuously point the mind towards the object that it should be noting. So it kind of is like a constant reminder. As you are noting rising, if you say, keep labeling rising, 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 rising. So it's like a reminder for the mind that it must constantly go to the experience of rising and to note it. Okay, so yeah. But it's important to remember that this label is just to help point the mind to the experience. Okay, so in your practice, the emphasis must be on the noting, on directing the mind towards the experience. It must be, emphasis should be on the experience of the object, which is noting. Okay, so must not get caught up with the label. The label is just to direct the noting towards the object. Okay, so must not get caught up with it. Sometimes some yogis get so caught up with the labeling, and then they start to think, oh, what should I label this? What should I label that? And then they start to come up with more and more complicated labels. Yeah, so which brings up another point. The label should also be very simple. So it must correspond to the experience. So if it's rising, then the label should be simply just rising. So it's the falling of the abdomen, the label should be simply falling. Don't have complicated label, or abdomen is rising, abdomen is falling. It's too complicated. Just sometimes you can even cut it down to, instead of rising, you can just say rise, 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 fall, fall, fall. So it must correspond with the experience. So when it's seeing, you should say seeing, seeing. And hearing, you should be hearing, hearing. Not hearing sound, or hearing insect. That's too complicated already. So very simple label that correspond with the experience that is noted. Okay, so don't get too caught up with the labeling. Okay, so sometimes you do not know what to label, right? So then just simply label as knowing, knowing, or feeling, feeling. So don't stop to think, what should I label this? You stop to think, then you're thinking, you're not meditating. Okay, so you don't know what to label, then simply label as knowing, knowing. Okay, so idea is don't get caught up with the labeling. So meditation is noting, not labeling. So at all times, your emphasis should be on the noting. Okay, so the labeling is just a support to help direct the mind to note the object. Okay, so it's just like a signboard that points you to a particular place. Okay, so when you see a signboard that points, what do? You must follow the direction, right? For example, you're traveling to Santi Sukarama, for example. So you travel. So from Kota Tinggi town, you drive along Jalan Lombong. So as you go along, then after a while, somewhere on the left, you saw the sign Santi Sukarama pointing there. So what do you do when you see this sign? Do you drive your car up to the sign and then get out of your car, hug the sign and say, finally I arrived? You don't do that, right? So what do? You follow the sign. So you continue driving, you follow the sign. And then you follow the sign, you go up the hillock, and then you come down the other side, and then you see more signs pointing you towards the center, and then you continue to follow the sign past the main gate, past the small forest, then finally you arrive at the center, and then you see Sister Sam. When you see Sister Sam, you know you have arrived. So you must follow the sign. Don't get caught up with the sign. The sign is pointing you somewhere, so you must go towards where it points to. In the Zen tradition, they say the finger points to the moon. You must follow where the finger is pointing towards the moon. Don't get caught up with the finger. So this method of labeling you can use not just with rising, falling, but all other objects that you note. Sitting, touching, thinking, pain, walking meditation. You can note lifting, pushing, placing. So you can use this method of labeling in all objects that you note. So first, you try to follow. When you're not rising, falling, first you try to follow each rising, each falling. You try to follow them continuously from beginning to the end of each movement. When you're not rising, you try to follow from the very beginning continuously right to the very end. Same with the falling movement. So with each rising, each falling, you try to follow first. So after a while, you find you can follow it very well. In the beginning, not so well. Your mind keeps wandering away. But if you keep persisting with it, after a while, when your noting mind develops some strength, then you develop some continuity. You find you'll be able to follow it quite continuously. Okay, so when you can follow it well, then you make extra effort as you are following the rising and falling movement. You make the extra effort in order to feel the physical sensation connected with the rising or falling movement. Sensations such as, for example, tightness or tension, pushing, and so on. Okay? So you make effort to feel whatever sensation is present. Okay, so Again, you use your mind to feel it. As you feel, you can feel all these different sensations. So as you're not rising, then you can feel, you make effort to feel. There's just some sensation that sometimes it may be tightness or tension. So whatever sensation is there, you just open up your mind and feel it. So this is how you note the rising and falling movement. This is your primary object in sitting meditation. So as I said, this primary object means you stay with this object as much as possible. Okay, so of course there are other objects also may arise as you are noting rising and falling. Okay, but as long as these other objects, even though they arise, but if they are not strong enough to distract your attention from the rising falling, then you ignore them. If they are not strong enough to pull your attention away from the noting of rising falling, then you don't have to note them. You continue to note the rising falling. Okay? Otherwise, every single object that arises, you want to note, and then your mind will be jumping from one object to another. So in the beginning, it's not very helpful. Especially your noting mind is not well developed yet. Yeah, you may end up with a very restless mind. Okay, so if these other objects that arise, they're not very clear, not prominent, and they do not pull on your attention clearly, then you can ignore them and continue to stay with the noting of the rising and falling movement. However, if they are very strong object, and they pull your attention away from the rising falling in such a way that you cannot help but turn your attention towards them. In this case, then you bring your attention towards this object that has arisen. This is a prominent object. Okay, so then you have to note them. Okay. Yeah. So only if the other objects, we call secondary object, only if they are prominent. Prominent means they're strong enough to pull your attention away from rising, falling. So only if they are prominent in this way, then only you note them. Otherwise, you can ignore them. Okay? And stay with the rising, falling. Now, when you note an object also, so you must note each object that you note. You must note with a wholehearted attention, full attention, okay? 100% attention, okay? Not 90%, not 80%, okay? 100%. Not even 99%, 100%. That means the whole entire mind must be with the object that you are noting. Okay, so for example, if you are noting the rising movement, then your whole attention, your entire mind is only with the rising movement, not with anything else. So you don't note, for example, half your mind with the rising, falling, half the mind with another object, maybe the pain that has arisen. Okay, so if you want to note rising, your entire mind must be with the rising movement. If you are noting falling, your entire mind must be with the falling movement. Okay, so when you are noting rising, for example, so you must not look ahead to the next falling movement that is about to occur, or look back towards the falling movement that came before this present rising movement. Okay, your whole mind must be completely just with the rising movement that is occurring right now in the present moment. Okay, so if you are looking ahead or looking backwards, then your attention is not fully with the experience arising in the present moment. Okay? So this is not the way to note. So when you note, you must note with full-hearted attention, just on the object that you are noting. Okay? So if you note the secondary object also, so if the secondary object that arises is very prominent, it pulls your attention away. So then you want to note the secondary object. So when you note the secondary object, you must turn your whole attention towards the secondary object. So that means temporarily you must leave behind the primary object. Totally ignore it. Turn your whole attention to the secondary object and not the secondary object. Okay? So your attention should not be half on the primary object, half on the secondary object. If you do so, your attention is split. So, and if your attention is split, then this is not helpful. It will not help you to develop the mindfulness and develop the concentration. You cannot develop effectively. So that's why when you meditate, the attention have to be very directed, focused in the beginning. Then only you can develop the strength of the noting mind, the strength of the mindfulness, strength of the concentration. Okay, so whatever objects that you are noting right now in the present moment, so you must note with 100% attention, with the full mind. That's what we call it, mindfulness. Mind that is full, completely with the object. Okay? So if you are noting in this way, that means one noting, one object. Okay, so when you note with one object with complete attention on that one object, just on one single object. So one noting, one object, one noting, one object, one noting, one object, continuously in this way. Each object that you note, you pay 100% attention, focus on it. So you do this continuously, moment after moment, with continuous focus on each object that you are noting. So only in this way you can develop the strength of your noting mind. Okay. All right. So this is how to note the primary object, rising, falling. So we have talked about the noting of the secondary object in the next talk. So, okay, the next talk will be on Sunday evening. So, same time, 8:30. So for this Vassa, so instead of just once a week, so we have the Dhamma talk 3 times a week. Okay, so it will be on the Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday evening, 8:30 p.m. Okay, so willing, you set up the meeting on these days. So Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Okay, so we stop the talk here today. Have any questions? A yogi has the experience of changing pictures, persons, and spontaneous words during walking meditation. Is there something wrong in his state of mind? The yogi notes during sitting meditation momentum force that propels the mind whereby he tries to label it. It is not possible, and he can't label pain, etc. easily. Is this characteristic of Cittanupassana? So 2 questions here. So first is during walking meditation, experience changing pictures, person, spontaneous words during walking meditation. Something wrong? Is it something wrong with his state of mind? So, no. This is just a sign that the mindfulness is not continuous. Huh? So, so when you see, so you're just not seeing. Huh? So the words arise, you're just not hearing. Huh? So, yeah. So, so in walking meditation, as well as in daily activities, especially, so you have to, because there's a lot of distraction, your eyes is open, so the mind sees a lot of things. So when it sees a lot of things outside in the mind, also you can start to think. So memories may start to arise, may see, imagine things, and so on. Okay, so that's why you need to step up effort to be more mindful. Okay, to be more continuous in the mindful noting. Okay, so when you note the steps, so rising, pushing, placing. Okay, so yeah, you have to make extra effort so that the mind stick continuously with the noting of these steps. Okay, so the idea is that the noting is so continuous that there is no opportunity for any other mental activities to arise. Okay, so in the Dhammapada, the Buddha mentioned something about this. He says he compared the mind to similar to like an atap roof. So yeah, atap roof is not, you don't touch it very well, and then there's a lot of holes in between. So when it rains, the water can leak through. So if you touch it very well, very compact, so that there is no holes in between, it's very well touched. Then when it rains, the water cannot leak through. So similarly, with our noting mind, so we must touch it very well. Touch it well means the noting must be so-called compact, in the sense that one noting must be followed immediately by another, and then immediately by another, and another, continuously, without any gaps. Okay? This is called a noting mind that is well touched. So as Sayadaw Pandita used to instruct us, he says, you must note in such a way that you must make sure that one noting is followed immediately by another noting, and that is followed immediately by another and another, continuously in this way. And then in this way, you make effort to note in this way, there's no gap in the noting. When there's no gap in the noting, that means all your mental energy is invested only in the work of noting. Then there's no opportunity for any other mental activities to occur. Okay? But if your noting is not continuous, your mind is full of holes, not well touched. So the moment there's any gaps, immediately all the defilements will come in. Then you start to have all this imagination and so on. It will come in. Okay, so you must make sure to touch your mind very well, so that there's no gap in the noting mind. If there's any gap, that means your mental energy is leaking towards all this extraneous mental activity. So it is like your, sometimes your phone battery. So you charge it 100%, but after just a short while, you see it drops down to 50%. Then you check and see, and then you find, oh, there are some of these silent app running in the background that you do not know, and they are uh, taking up all your battery. So it means your battery energy is leaking. So you must shut down all these apps. So, so in the same way, in your practice also, you must shut down all these other apps running in your mind that is sapping your mental energy. We call this the hindrances. So you must clear them away through continuous, relentless noting. Clear them away. And so when you meditate continuously, so you're directing all your mental energy only towards the work of noting. Then the mental energy is conserved only for the work of noting. It doesn't leak out to all these other extraneous activities. Okay. And the second one, it says the yogi notes during sitting meditation. This is a momentum force that propels the mind, whereby if he tries to label it, it is not possible. He can't label pain easily. So does that mean, what you mean is that the mind can actually momentum force. So there is a force that propels the mind. What I understand from this, because it's not very clear, but what I understand is that you are saying that there is a force that propels the mind towards the object. That means you can note the object, but when you try to label it, you cannot label. So, is that what you are saying? Who is this brother Quack?
Yes.
Yes, huh? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so sometimes this happens. So if you find that you cannot label, then you can just drop the label. So meditation, you see, is noting, it's not labeling. So just by noting, you are meditating, and you don't have to label. And you find that you cannot label it anymore, but the noting is going on very well. And then you can just drop the label and then just continue your practice simply by noting, simply by being with each object that arises. Okay? Yeah. So this happens quite often. So sometimes at certain stages of the practice, because the noting is so fast, and then when you try to label it, because labeling is a bit slow, then you find it very difficult to label. So then you just drop the labeling. Okay? Is this a characteristic of Cittanupassana? Depends. Are you meditating on the citta? If you are meditating on the citta and you are noting the nature of knowing continuously, so even without the labeling, it is still, you can consider it as Cittanupassana. Okay? So, and second question from Joyce Lim. We have Joyce Lim here, then we have Joyce Lim over there. I have the hip problem. I cannot sit cross-legged, but sit with one leg to the side. This is considered wrong posture. You have hip problem, and then you sit with your leg to the side. No, wouldn't this give rise to more pain in the hip? Joyce?
One way. I mean cross leg and one to the side. Feel more comfortable.
Oh, you cross one leg, then one leg to the side. You feel more comfortable. Yeah, if you feel comfortable, yeah, you can do it. Okay? But for me, if I sit like this, the leg to the side, I feel uncomfortable in the hip. because it's not balanced, So after a while, I feel pain in the hip, so I cannot do that. But that is for me personally. But if you feel you're comfortable in that posture, then you can do it. Okay, so comfortable means you can sustain the posture continuously without moving, and your mind also you feel comfortable. You can meditate continuously. And then you can do it.
But
Okay.
someone told me that I have to learn to try to cross my leg because that's the right way to meditate.
Yeah, the right way to meditate is nothing.
Oh, okay.
Posture is just to support the meditation. And to support the meditation, the posture needs to be comfortable. So, although traditionally we say the sitting meditation, the traditional posture is sitting cross-legged with the spine upright. Okay, so this, of course, if you can do it, is very supportive for the development of the sitting meditation because it's a very balanced posture. Okay, but if it's somehow you're uncomfortable, some problem in injury and so on, so you cannot do this, then you have to find some other posture which is supportive of your practice. Okay, where you can feel comfortable, where you can sit still without moving, continuously still, so that you can support the practice. So then that is all right. Now we must not always insist on just one way of doing things. If that way is not working for you, then it's not helpful. So, so you must see what is the basic principle behind all this basic instruction and apply it accordingly to your situation. Okay, so idea of the posture is to have a comfortable posture so that you don't have to keep on shifting about. Because you keep shifting about, you cannot develop. Your mind is ill at ease. So you cannot settle down, you cannot develop mindfulness, you cannot develop concentration. Okay? So if you feel comfortable in a particular posture, it is supportive, and then you can make use of it. Okay? So even, that's why, even sitting on a chair, for some yogis, if they have this injury, I allow them to sit on a chair. Okay, sometimes I have to insist when they come in. Sometimes they insist they don't want to, but then in a practice they have so much problem. They don't feel comfortable. Then I have to insist, sit on a chair. Then usually after that they feel comfortable, and then they can practice. So, so that's why you must understand the reason behind the instruction. Okay, so and then apply it accordingly. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? So if no more, then it's quite late already. So we stop here. So, okay. All right. So we pay homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, parents and teachers. And then we make aspiration and we share merits, all beings. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Buddham Pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Dhammam Pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Sangham Pujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Mata Pitunam Pujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Acariyanam Pujemi Ada Imaya Patipadaya Jaramranamha Rimocesami Idame Punyam Asawakaya Waham Hodu Idame Punyam Nibbanasa Pajayo Hodu Idame Silam Magaphalanyanasa Pajayo Hodu Imam no Punya Bhagam Sabbasatanam Dema Imam no Punya Bhagam Sabbasatanam Dema Imam no Punya Bhagam Sabbasatanam Dema Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So may all of you be well, happy and peaceful always. May you all be able to experience the peace, unconditioned peace of Nibbana through your practice of the Dhamma.